Testimony back underway in the trial for the Doomsday Mom, Lori Vallow, this morning. She's the mother accused of killing her two children in Idaho. Much of the testimony on Friday focused on Tammy Daybell. That's Chad Daybell's first wife. She died October 19th of 2019, and you just heard part of a 911 call from that day. The coroner at the time said that Tammy died of natural causes, but then later her body was exhumed and an autopsy determined that her death was a homicide and that Tammy died of asphyxiation. 2 weeks to the day of Tammy's funeral, Chad and Lori got married on a beach in Hawaii. They can be seen laughing, smiling, playing music while all of this turmoil and death is happening back here stateside. I want to bring in trial attorney and legal analyst Brian Claypool this morning. Brian, thank you. I want to play another piece of testimony in court. This is Rexburg police officer Alyssa Greenhalgh working the morning of October 19th, 2019 and responding to the house the day that Tammy Daybell died. Let's play that.
Regarding the death of his wife.
He had told me she had woken up at approximately midnight with a coughing fit. She had vomited in the bedroom and then had gone into the bathroom down the hallway and had continued vomiting in the bathroom. He went into the bathroom to help her clean up and then had put her back to bed. They had both gone back to sleep. And then he said at about 5:40 a.m. he had felt the covers of the bed pull off of him and had looked over and noticed that Tammy had fallen off the bed.
And we now know Tammy was killed, died of asphyxiation. My question for you is, how does the prosecution tie Lori to this? Because this is Chad's wife. It's a much separate case, but it is clearly going to be part of their strategy to the jury. How do they do that?
Marnie, that's the million-dollar question. How do they do that? I think it was a mistake by the prosecutors to charge Lori Vallow with conspiracy to commit murder of Tammy Daybell. What evidence do they have that she had anything to do with this murder? You've got Chad Daybell in bed with Tammy. He calls at 5:40. He's the prime suspect. They've now changed it from natural causes to a homicide. But unless prosecution has, for example, a text message, an email, or an audio recording where Lori Vallow is telling Chad Daybell, hey, yes, let's kill Tammy. I'm in with you on killing Tammy. That's what you need, by the way, Marnie, to prove a conspiracy. You have to prove an agreement between two people to commit a crime. It's a very hard crime to prove. And I think this was a mistake to charge Lori Vallow with this crime. It takes away from the attention on the two kids.
Right. And maybe it offers some clarity. This next piece of testimony, Tammy Daybell's sister testifying to the jury. Her name is Samantha Gwillem. She wrapped up her testimony Friday, told the jury that she confronted her former brother-in-law about marrying Lori Vallow 2 weeks to the day of Tammy's funeral. I'm wondering if this is where they try to connect those dots. Let's play that.
I asked him in a phone call, I said, so please tell me about this woman that you've married to replace my sister with. I said, are you going to be raising kids together? You know, Mark will be coming home from his mission. And he told me no, that there's no children and that they were going to be empty nesters.
So might this be how they tie her to the conspiracy, that they had an agreement, they were going to be empty nesters, the kids were dead at this point?
I mean, Marnie, you sound like a good prosecutor with that comment, but I got to tell you, I don't think that's enough. I really don't. That's not going to be tantamount to an agreement. And I really think what the prosecutors have done in this case, if you break it down, is they've charged Lori Vallow based more on emotion and anger as opposed to what do the facts actually prove in the case, and then what is the law that you've got to follow. In my opinion, in this entire case, I think the better charges against Lori Vallow would have been, for example, an accessory before the fact, right? Or an accessory after the fact. Why do I say that? Because I think a jury is going to have a much easier time saying, yeah, Vallow, she helped, commit this murder. She helped cover up the murder, although she wasn't there when the murders of the kids were committed. And by the way, with both of those charges, you could potentially put her away, for 40 years. And then what about financial fraud? Her cashing in on Social Security benefits when the kids are dead. That's another crime they could have charged her with that would be much easier, I think, for a jury to find a guilty verdict.
Yep. And maybe the most significant piece of evidence so far was just revealed in court this morning, Brian. What I'm hearing is the duct tape that was found around JJ, her young son's body, had Lori's hair. This is according to a DNA analysis, an expert who is on the stand this morning. If that is true, is that the smoking gun here?
Well, that's a great piece of evidence then for the prosecutors, because, just so your viewers know, to prove conspiracy to commit murder, first degree murder requires intent to kill, and conspiracy, again, an agreement to kill the kids. And up until now, we haven't seen any physical or forensic evidence tying Lori Vallow to the murder of the two kids. So if they have a piece of Lori's hair on the duct tape, then that gives them some ammunition to make the argument that she participated in the murder of the kids. Again, the counter to that, Vallow's lawyers are going to say, look, it's tape in the house. Hair can get on tape in any way, shape, or form.
Let me ask you this, because Chad and Tammy Daybell had 5 kids. Based on some of the pictures and images we've seen, they're a little bit older. What's the likelihood that any of them testified to what was going on in their personal lives between their mom and dad? Had they ever seen Lori Vallow before? How might that come into play?
I think the biggest relevance of kids testifying would be less about what they observed with their parents and more about what they heard. Did they overhear any conversations between Lori and Chad about what happened with the two kids and what happened with Tammy Daybell? Did they see anything that might have led them to believe that there was some kind of an agreement in place to murder the kids? So I think the prosecution really needs to hone more in on actual evidence, right? What did the kids hear, not as opposed to optics, right? We've seen a lot of optics in this case. This case is a poster child case for, it really, really looks bad for Lori Vallow. She looks like a horrible woman and a horrible parent, and she looks like a murderer. But again, that's not going to be enough to get a guilty verdict on conspiracy to commit murder and murder.
All right, watching it every day. Brian Claypool, as always, thank you.